Well, welcome to the channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. I don't practice as a reverend anymore. The call went off my life and I called it quits with that, and decided to pursue building a strong relationship. Haven't succeeded yet. I've tried. I'm sure you've tried as well. When we look at relationships, I think it all starts with making sure you're healed yourself. You have to be healed. You have to be clear. You have to be at one with yourself. You have to be able to sit down and be at peace. Breakups. When you go through a breakup, there's a lot going on. Your body is purging. It's purging all the things that you had to tolerate. That can manifest through weakness, tiredness, depression, headaches, migraines, blurred thinking, fogginess, a lack of wanting to do things. But you push on with all this going on. This is going on underneath. You'll feel ailments. Your body will signal to you what might need fixing or repairing. Your mind and your soul will go into a big adjustment because you haven't got the person there and the supply of that person's soul anymore. And so there's a lot going on. It starts with the purging. Now, for the dumper that hasn't planned to dump, that's been trying to build a relationship, but it just hasn't gone the way that you should, or circumstances lined up in a way that worked against it, that can be just as crippling as it can be for the dumpee. But the person that's been told to go, sometimes they can act in a way in which brings a reverse discard. It's called a reverse discard, and they'll just do a sunken investment on the relationship, which means they'll just count as for loss what they've done in the relationship and go, oh well, that was that. These people have already emotionally gotten out, but they're still physically in. They're possibly coming back to themselves before they actually leave, going through these motions. There's an element of deception and dishonesty in that. But for the other ones that are trying, and it's just not working out for whatever reasons, I'm not going to go into reasons. I'm sick and tired of the reasons, usually interference of some kind, or an immaturity or a lack of value in some area. They don't seem to understand what the consequences of a breakup are. They can be graphic in terms of what happens to your mind. They can be quite clinical in the way in which your mental health can go. It can be actually quite serious by way of some of the detrimental things that can happen to your body and your health. And so going into a breakup really takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of processing, and it takes a lot of resolve, personal resolve. What went wrong, why it went wrong, what were some of the causes behind it, where were all the values, what were we aiming for, what was my part in it. That's the first one. Always come back to yourself, take accountability yourself. What was the unresolved? Why didn't it get resolved? What impacts did that have on the relationship? And then you come out the other side, you go through the shock and the pain of the initial, this ain't working, and you begin the processing. You just begin to process, as I just said, this, that, this, and then you might feel defeated. You might feel disappointed in yourself. You might feel disappointed in the other person. You might feel defeated. You might feel like it was deliberate. You might feel like it was just the way that God wanted it to go, or the universe wanted it to go. And then you start to accept. And while this is going on, your spirit and soul's purging through probably headaches and tiredness and reasoning and rumination again, the acceptance, coming to conclusions, compartmentalizes the healing in where it needs to go. And it's a process. It might even be a lifelong process. You'll get through the initial stages of it, and you're trying to come back to your best self. You're just trying to come back to the best version of yourself with the time you've got left. Everybody responds differently. Some people jump straight into another relationship. You get to the point where you go, okay, I did my best with that. Just the dynamics were just not going to work. And you just keep processing and healing. You got to keep processing and healing until more and more peace comes into your soul. And it will. Bit by bit, more and more peace starts trickling into your soul. Some people get satisfaction out of meeting somebody else, and that works. That works as well. If you can meet somebody else and find healing in that, that'll work. But some people don't care about themselves enough to really want to straighten stuff out and fix stuff up. They're just not into that. They're just not going to do that. They're working at a fleshly level, an ungodly level. And so when they meet somebody else, the same thing happens again and again and again until they come to the point where they go, shivers, I got to stop. I got to look at what's happened here. What was my part in this? And how can I prevent it from happening again? So breaking up is a process. I guess that process works in conjunction with how valuable the relationship was to you, how important that person was to you, the reasons behind the breakup, the lack of communication, possibly the no texting, no talking, just a person present, or whatever the problem was. The point of what I'm saying is you really need to make sure that you're evaluating yourself and not robbing yourself through denial and other ways in which you can suppress the truth about what you did in that relationship, what your part in it was for the demise of it, how you can do better and reconcile all these things to yourself through processing, and how you can move on. Probably a good idea if you give that person closure one way or another, explaining what happened, why it happened, etc. It's up to them to accept that or not. Whether they respond or not is irrelevant. You've got to move on then with healing. Once you've gone through the breakup, once you're out the other side of it, you've immediately got to start the processing and the healing for you to get better and to be able to come back to yourself. It's really important. You can spend time in meditation, in prayer, scripture, but I wouldn't say go too far into that. I think it's more important to stay at an earthly level as well, so that you can be grounded in understanding what parts of life got the better of you. Because I say this because thousands of Christian people, they're living their life right with God, but they're missing their life on the ground. They're not navigating their life correctly on the ground. There is a place for the Lord and for Christ, and yeah, they're in everything because they're in your soul, but there's a place where you have to live from the ground in the lives of the people that you're mixing with and understand what's going on and navigate it accordingly. And some people are going to be just downright evil. There's just some people that you're not going to be able to get along with. They don't want to get along with you. You have to accept that and receive that. Be kind and be loving. If you've done your block at the end, you've been driven to the point of complete despair and disappointment, or whatever has happened, or frustration, or just alarm maybe, Maybe you've been pushed so far, you just want the relationship but you can't go any further. That's a horrible place to be in. Horrible place. Again, if you can just give as much closure as you can, that might be just going completely quiet. Or it might be sending a letter, it might be trying to explain. As long as you've tried to act with integrity, as long as you've tried to be as fair as you can, as long as you, and I always would say, stay away from drugs and alcohol. You beat before you start if you're mixing with people on that stuff. Because when you need rationale, it's not going to be there. When you need understanding, it's really not going to be there. There's a lot of big blanks in all that, and that will undermine the relationship as well. And it's not fair. It's not fair if you've come into it and you're fully aware and awake. You see drugs and alcohol and whatever else is going on. I got friends that take cocaine and that. They're not awake. They're not rational. They're living on the spur of the moment, and then nothing else is manifesting for them. They end up with nothing. They're usually living with their mum or something like this. They haven't accomplished anything in life. They haven't succeeded anywhere in life. And I just don't understand why people turn to drugs. I think a lot of it may be medicinal, but I think a lot of it's convenience. And that's all there is to it. So I hope this has helped. Remember the great scriptures like Romans chapter 1. Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. That's just a quick version of it. But it also says, and we have access to God through this faith given to us by Christ. For some people, the Lord may not be so important. For me, He is, because I know He's working in my heart and in my mind. He takes away that loneliness and gives you assurance deep inside your heart. The fear of the Lord is strong confidence, the Proverbs said, and the fear of the Lord is a fountain of life. So while people are falling down all around you, not turning up the way that they should, driving you into a situation of asking them to go, the Lord, as they say, He is the same yesterday, today and forever. Just keep turning up the best version of yourself. Keep working on your mind and exercising your spirit and your soul and your understanding to be fair. And it all should work out for you in the end. Okay? It will. It always does. But be patient. Be wise. Don't be a fool. And let your soul and your spirit and your mind work together to bring you back to your agency, to who you are, to your person. And I promise you, pieces of peace. Peace will come in deeper and deeper and deeper until you're restored. Whole. Pray for the person that you split up with. Pray for the people that caused all the trouble. Get on with your hobbies. Get on. I'll be motorcycling today and playing with the car and some other stuff going on, working around the yard, vacuuming at home. Taking pride in yourself and what you have. That's the main thing. Okay, take pride in yourself and what you have and give thanks to God in all humility and stuff, okay? But most of all, stay straight, look after your mind, be aware, stay alert, and love your neighbour as yourself. Bye for now.